Hi.
I am sitting here with the one and only Jackie Chan, global superstar, and he is signing all of these books. Are your hands tired?
No, tired, but I'm happy.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm
really,
so
really
happy to
happy.
hear that.
How do you feel?
Good. I'm excited. This is the first time I've done something like this before, a live signing.
Where do I want to go that I've never been? Oh, we're thinking about, not thinking, we're putting it in motion. I'm going to go to Indonesia on my Irresponsible tour this year. I'm excited about that. I've never been. And there's been a heavy demand for me there. So we're going to go. We're going to go to Indonesia and I'm going to make people laugh in Indonesia. That's how I roll. How do you roll? I can't make this up. Wayne, you got your Indonesia pants? I decided it about a good 3 weeks ago. You'll see it on the schedule soon, so I suggest you go get your pants for Indonesia. Because you're not going to wear them stupid pants. Where do you think Indonesia is? India. Yes, we out.
So you can see that I'm signing it. This is not some machine scribbling my name. This is my actual human body scribbling my name. So, all right, there we go. First book, signed.
We have fans from all over who have written questions that they want to ask you.
Oh, dear.
And they're also going to get signed copies of the book. We're so excited.
Yeah.
So you ready to jump into some
Yes,
questions?
yes.
Hey, we're live at the live signing.
To my mind, the successful feeling at the end of a book is not that you have done everything you could with the book, but that you've scratched the surface.
So it was a wonderful, it was a wonderful experience and a wonderful discipline in storytelling.
I'm going to start signing right now. I guess I'll sign in red. You know, red. I'm a Delta. Red.
Can you guys see that? See, he's a little smudge right there. So if you see a little smudge, that means Charles jumped on the book as I was signing it.
I don't mind doing signings because people really love a signed copy of a book. I know I do. I will sometimes sign a book to myself.
You were only 7 weeks old and ABC really wanted to get the new host in that seat and get things going. And I said, but I'm breastfeeding. And by the way, that was at a point like in 1979, coming up on 1980, you really weren't even allowed to say breastfeeding on the air.
I feel like this is something we kind of all need right now.
My life changed after my leg was broken in 1985. My world changed. I had the world by the tail. I had every material thing you could possibly hope for going for you in your life. And then all of a sudden, bang, in one instance, it was gone.
The only thing that matters is the love you give and the love you allow yourself to receive.
I'm healthier than I've ever been, only because I got healthy when I was like 40.
Thank you so much.
Got it. Hi there. You probably recognize this guy. I'm Ned Rust. I'm his publisher, the James Patterson here, the #1 best-selling author in the world. And
Did you just make that up?
I did some research before I got here today.
We are doing my virtual live book signing.
Live book signing.
This is crazy.
More and more authors are doing this. I think it's so cool.
Signing some of the signed copies that you guys can get at premiercollectibles.com.
You're going to be signing these books live over the next 45 minutes.
Hey, what up, this your boy? I'm watching myself. Look at that. I need to stop.
If you're OCD, how is this panic inducing to
They're
you?
not
Like all these.
They've got a bag.
Yeah.
They've got a bag.
I'm inspired by your success. What advice do you give someone who's never found his passion?
Hi, I'm Judge Janine Pirro. You probably heard of my book, Liars, Liberals, and Leakers. I may look like Greg Gutfeld, but I'm not. Actually, this is so exciting. My 8th book, The Gutfeld Monologues, is out. This is fantastic. If you haven't purchased it yet, you're dead to me. But you still have time to reanimate and become my best friend.
Biggest pet peeve? Men that talk to me with spinach in their teeth.
What can I do while at work to help lower my stress and improve my health?
One musician do you most admire?
I love you all, and we'll talk again soon. Take care.
Bye.
Much love. See you.
See you soon, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
We'll see you around the world. Woo!
Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone here.
Bye, guys.
Say goodbye, Mary.
See you in the morning.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Hello, my name is Randy Lewis. I've been writing about pop music for most of my life, more than 40 years, most of that at the LA Times here in Los Angeles. And today I'm happy to have the chance to sit down with John Densmore, founding member and drummer for The Doors, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame band member. We're doing a live signing event for his new book, which is called The Seekers, Meetings with Remarkable Musicians and Other Artists. And here at the top of the event, we'll let you know that you can actually order a signed copy at premiercollectibles.com/The Seekers and get John's signature on your copy of the book. This is his third book. And I'll ask him just, we're in the virtual world now. John, tell us a little bit about a virtual signing and what you've done on your previous two books and how that differs from what we're doing today.
Hi, everybody. Oh, I hear a big echo. Can you hear me okay? There, it's gone. Okay. I'm really sad that I can't go around to all the indie record stores and meet all you people and sign in person. But this is better than nothing, right? And I'm very pleased to have this guy over here, Randy Lewis, a wonderful, esteemed writer on music, critic for the LA Times, and just very knowledgeable about music, and he understands what I'm struggling with, finding words that reflect the sound you're hearing in a record or a live performance. And so I'm great to have a peer help me out with this.
Well, it's something we both struggled with, and it's attributed to Frank Zappa. I don't know if he actually invented it, but the great quote that writing about music is like dancing about architecture.
Oh, that's excellent. I never heard that.
Yeah.
Let me just note, I'm signing as we talk, so that sometimes I'll be looking down, signing these plates that you guys are going to get with the book.
Cool. Well, this is a good way to be able to continue the idea of getting a signed copy of a book. And this one, in your first book, Writers on the Storm, it was a New York Times bestseller. You talked, it went into great depth about the Doors and your experience there and what that whole journey was. Your second book, The Doors Unhinged, about the whole legal back and forth you got into with your two other bandmates on commercial legal aspects of how the Doors legacy was playing out. And I really appreciated that one just because I thought you brought such a kind of objective point of view to it. You were certainly a participant, but and there was a lot of heated aspects of that portion of your life, but I appreciated the objectivity you brought to it. This one, now you get to go into really interesting stories of people you've interacted with during your life. And I think maybe the first question I'd ask you, it's quite an impressive lineup. I mean, you're talking about encounters, collaborations, friendships you've had with people like, of course, Jim Morrison, but Janis Joplin, Lou Reed, Van Morrison, Patti Smith, Paul Simon, Willie Nelson, Airto Moreira, Ravi Shankar, Bob Marley. My question, just out of the box here, was it a challenge to find acceptance for the idea of a book about so many celebrated figures in popular music that's not gossip based, that's not about the sordid stories, the dark underbelly of the business, but talking to them about the thing that really sparked you guys. There's a spiritual element to music and something that connects us, binds us, and that's where you go with this book, and that's what I love about it.
See, now this is why I'm very pleased to have Randy here. He even said Airto's name correctly. Most folks out there probably don't know Airto and Emil Richards, a few of the other icons that are in this book, but they're at the same level as Ravi Shankar and all these great people. Yeah, my first two books, I would say, were written in blood because they were cathartic and I had to get them out. This book is written in love. It's my tip of the hat to all these artists who fed me greatly. I didn't actually interview each one. I reflected back to the few minutes I had with Bob Marley backstage, or the few months I had studying at Ravi Shankar's school. And so I just kind of, I knew I wanted to write about Elvin Jones, the drummer for Coltrane, who really fed me. And then later I thought, wow, my mom, she let me play drums in the living room. I got to write about her. And then I had this thought that in the Elvin Jones chapter, I said that all drummers and everyone else, the first beat you ever hear is in the womb, your mom's heartbeat, And then I thought, well, that's why my mom's the first chapter. So it was fun, a lot of love pouring out.
That definitely comes through, and you start with some of the early influences, primarily her, and then you talk about your junior high school band teacher, music teacher in junior high, and how important he was. And share a little bit of that. I was definitely identified. You started out with piano lessons, and then you were going to play clarinet, which is my instrument, and you couldn't do that. Why not?
Well, the orthodontist, I owe my career to, I guess. I was a fan of Benny Goodman, and even though that was a little before my time, and I thought, wow, girls would like the clarinet player. And the orthodontist said, your braces are trying to push your teeth back. The clarinet would push it out. So then my junior high music teacher said, drums, we need drummers, John. And I thought, yeah, that's cool. Girls like drummers. Great. Now, Randy, didn't you have some connection with Jim's wife, Pam's dad, who was your junior high something or other?
In fact, speaking of our junior high school experiences, the junior high school I went to, the principal was Corky Corson, who was the father to Pam Corson, Jim's girlfriend. And so I was there right when you guys were getting started, and the hot rumor around my junior high school campus was that the Doors were going to play our school dance. You never showed up.
I'm sorry. Was there any interaction between you and the principal? Did you get, shoved into his room for bad behavior or anything?
The vice principal handled all that stuff. I think I may have gotten some acknowledgement. I actually won a band award at the end of my tenure in junior high, and so that was probably as much as our paths crossed. But I spent a lot of quality time in the band room there, and junior high school, and college. But, I don't know if it surprises people that, Elvin Jones, as you talk about in your book, was such a profound influence for you, from the jazz world more than the rock world.
Yeah, totally. I just stumbled into Shelley's Manhole Jazz Club with my fake ID from Tijuana. I knew there was some magic, but I didn't know there were going to be these giant icons. But I just couldn't believe how Elvin, the first job of the drummer is the beat, keep the pulse. And actually, I have a quote of Thelonious Monk, which is brilliant. 10 things musicians need to know. And the very first one is have a good sense of time, especially if you're not the drummer. Oh my God, that's brilliant. you know, if you're a sax player soloing and you don't have the internal metronome, people aren't going to care, because we want to feel like we're back in the womb. That's what makes people dance. That's what's community is that feeling. What was your question?
Well, just that, you know, you have this profound respect for and influence out of the jazz world, which you brought into rock and roll. And, you know, Elvin Jones, it's wonderful to read the stories in there of how you took every opportunity to sneak in and see him even in clubs before you were old enough to legally do so.
And another jazz drummer, Chico Hamilton, I did an interview the other day, and they were saying, "Oh, we saw Fred Katz, who's a cello player, and he's my third chapter." And he said, "Oh, I saw Chico on YouTube, and Fred." And then I went, "God!" And I Googled Chico Hamilton, and there he was, and it was this song called "Pushing Through," where I heard the cymbal bell beat and went, "Oh, I'm steal from the best." And the audio book for this book, which I read the whole thing, I also put music underneath, some drumming and whatever, and piano playing scales under my mom's chapter about taking piano. And under the Fred Katz chapter, I play the Chico Hamilton beat that I put in the end. It's the main beat in the end. So, you know, we're all on the shoulders of these people who fed us, and that's why I'm thanking them. And let me say one other thing to everyone out there who's not a, quote, professional musician. You can get in the same zone if you spend 20 minutes, a half an hour every day or more playing the piano in the closet where no one hears it, or painting, or whatever it is. It's music, or the arts are medicine for the soul. And you know, these times are so difficult. We sure can use that, and I'm encouraging that. You don't have to be climbing the charts. You know, you can be alone doing it, and it'll heal and feed you.
Yeah, and that's a big part, I think, of what this book talks about, of the sort of special place that music can take you. And as you say, and I'm glad you said that, you know, it shouldn't be limited to professionals. You know, it's something everybody has access to. You know, you talked about your mother saying, you know, when she felt pain, she painted, that through the arts, that's how she dealt with that. Sheryl Crow, who is a cancer survivor, has said that, you know, she's convinced that music reaches down into the DNA. And the Armenian Greek mystic sage G.I. Gurdjieff, whose famous book inspired the title of yours, his being Meetings with Remarkable Men, said that everything is vibration, and music is absolutely the best art form manifestation of that idea.
Boy, I wish I had heard that line before and put it in the book. But I think I do say that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was a sound, and that's a vibration. It's all sonic vibrations. So I quote Neil deGrasse Tyson about how, this surprised me, I heard this a year ago, that the gravitational pull of all the planets are all affecting each other in our solar system. They're not just one. Everyone is pulling and pushing everyone else, and the sun's the lead singer. And it's just like an ensemble. And if the guitar player gets too full of himself, he might shoot off like a shooting star, and we can't pull him back like him and Janice. So all that stuff's pretty interesting. I hear a sound. Are we okay? That's gone.
I have a helicopter going over in my neighborhood. I don't know if that's it.
That's it. That's it.
Well, interestingly too, you know, in your book title, you have the phrase "and other artists." So beyond the musicians that are spotlighted here, you know, you also touch on the Dalai Lama, Swami Satchidananda, poet Robert Bly, a favorite of mine, the Maharishi, Joseph Campbell, and you just mentioned Neil deGrasse Tyson. A lot of just wonderful thinkers of our times or recent times. So what I was interested in finding out, who was it that first put it into your head, or maybe it came in through your body, that music could be something more than just entertainment, more than commerce, that it would actually is something transformative.
Wow. I don't know if I literally got that. That came slowly. Maybe it was, oh, sure. It was hearing Jim's lyrics, Ray hands me a crumpled piece of paper at our first rehearsal. Jim's in the corner and he's real shy. And I'm thinking, this is not the next Mick Jagger. I don't know what's up here. And I look at this paper and it says, day destroys the night, night divides the day, tried to run, tried to hide, break on through to the other side. I'm like, wow, to rock music, this is different. I think this is deep. This is poetry. I'm down for this, So maybe that was the beginning.
Yeah. Well, he was studying poetry at UCLA when you and Ray were studying music there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So part of this virtual signing too is the opportunity to bring in some questions from fans, people who have signed on and ordered signed books, and they've also submitted questions. So just as a reminder that anybody tuning in late, you can still order a signed copy of John's book at premiercollectibles.com/theseekers. But let's dive into some of the questions that people have submitted, and we'll continue the conversation that way. And I thought you might enjoy this one to start things off, John. This is from Adam in Holland, Pennsylvania. And he says, I always thought your drumming was the key to the Doors sound. How did you develop your style? What do you think of that question?
I love this guy. Yeah. How did I develop my style? Well, first I was playing bass drum in the symphonic band in junior high because of my braces. And then I graduated to the cymbals and then the snare drum. And then later I got a whole drum set and started. So I learned each part kind of individually, which I think was kind of educational. And something else that fed me greatly was I was in the orchestra playing timpani, and I write a chapter on Gustavo Dudamel, the conductor of the LA Philharmonic, young genius. The dynamics of classical music really fed me. I'm not the fastest drummer, but if you play with power and pianissimo, and all the feelings in between, you're getting the whole gamut of emotions. And so I think that fed me in my drumming to play musically, hopefully, with Jim and Ray and Robbie. And
yeah, that's something that I have appreciated greatly too, and probably because I have a similar kind of musical background, going through that experience of orchestral settings, that it kind of disappointed me in a lot of rock bands that it would be one volume all night from beginning to end, and it's like there's so much variety and power here available to you that you're not using. You should channel it.
Yeah, let me wax on about that a little bit for a second. I talk about how silence is a really important counterbalance to sound. Without both, you don't have the comparison. So if you hear a loud punk band, you need to kind of chill. And what's so interesting is Dudamel he had a piece that was supposed to come in really quiet, and he told the orchestra that he was going to conduct 4 bars and don't play yet. And then after another 4 start to play. And we were out there in the audience squirming, trying to figure out if we were hearing any sound. And we weren't. But it made our attention so astute, so pin drop time. It was a fucking gift. It was just the silence before the giant sound. And, and then you hear Beethoven for 40 minutes. And then Gustavo finishes. And he keeps his hands up for a minute or two, and then he puts them down, and then we're allowed to applaud. And it's so delicious, that silence after the big orchestra.
Yeah, and that's some of the most powerful experiences I've had is not a immediate burst of applause, but a silence where people obviously have connected with this and it resonates with them. I think you use the famous Mozart quote, which goes something along the lines that music is the silence between the notes.
Yeah.
Let's go to this. And since I'm wearing a shirt I got in Memphis from the Lansky brothers, Clothiers to the King, where Elvis used to shop, and Wade in North Branch, Minnesota said, "What influence did Elvis Presley have on you and the band?"
Well, Jim loved Elvis. I was aware of Elvis, certainly, and Chuck Berry and the early rock and rollers. I was way into jazz. Then I saw the Beatles on TV and went, wow, what are these guys, gay? What is this, And Elvis, his early records were, that what would you call it? What's that sound?
Well, the rockabilly sound
rockabilly.
of the early stuff, yeah.
Acoustic guitar.
The slap bass.
Great. And Jim went and saw Elvis in Vegas. And I wish I had gone with him. I didn't go because it was Vegas. It was Elvis's later period with the capes and all the stuff, And it was his early records that were so important. And so, I didn't know it was going to be his last performance, so Jim got to see him, which was great. Also, Jerry Scheff was his bass player, and Jerry Scheff was our bass player on LA Woman. And so, what a great pocket that was. And I think Jerry said that after working on LA Woman with us, he recorded Hunka Hunka Burn in Love or something, one of those tunes, and he stuck a couple bars of the LA Woman in the Elvis song.
That's great. Now I'm going to listen to that entirely differently. Now, well, let me go. There's 2 questions that are sort of related, so I'll ask them together. Alan from Bloomfield Hills in Michigan says, during the Doors' heyday, which bands did you find most interesting in what they were doing? And then Elliot from Arlington, Virginia says, if you could have been in any band other than the Doors, what would it have been? So those seem close enough that maybe you could touch on both of those.
Yeah, someone the other day asked me was there anybody I would like to have or could still play with? And I blurted out Bob Dylan because of his lyrical mastery. I'd play a maraca on anything he wanted or anything.
Tambourine.
Huh?
A tambourine.
Tambourine. Okay, yeah. So Van Morrison, he was a peer, and we loved him. Who else? The Jefferson Airplane. The Stones were kind of heroes in the very beginning. All the Zombies. My brain's stuck. There was a renaissance in the 60s.
Yeah, there was a lot of interesting stuff going on. And since you just mentioned Van Morrison, who also gets a chapter in your book, has its ups and downs of his relationship with you. But the Astro Weeks album that he did in 1968 was very different than anything anybody was doing, and very jazz influenced. Is that something that popped your ears open when you heard that of, this is the guy who sang Gloria?
I've said that the Astro Weeks is on my list of one of the top greatest LPs ever. And I think at the end of that chapter, I quote some esteemed critic from the LA Times, a Randy Lewis, who had a quote about Van. You know, it's an interesting, I had a little dissonance with Van. We had a little problem, which I'm not going to give away. Maybe if you read about it.
Yeah, read the book.
But I have to say that, you know, it took, I was upset. And then I heard, we were born before the wind, also younger than the sun, and the Bonnie both is one as we sail into the mystic. Okay, I love you, Van. Just like I love Jim. You know, I don't like Jim's self-destruction, but our artistic gifts are just fabulous.
Yeah, yeah. Here's one from Aaron in Monguap Valley, New York, if I've said that correctly. Who were your biggest non-music related influences and why? And we name-checked a few that you mentioned in the book, but I'll let you handle that one.
Non-music. Well, you know, I stumbled into Peggy Fury's acting class after The Doors. She was a legendary teacher. And, you know, the downside of a peak as big as The Doors is steep. And, you know, some people succumb to drugs and alcohol, like our singer. But I realized that if I sort of zigzag my way down, it would be better. And I stumbled into this acting class, and I was just nervous without my drums, especially. My body's the instrument, in front of 12 people, or more nervous than 12,000 at Madison Square Garden. So the acting led me to realize I wanted to write. I wanted to write my own words, and then that really got me going. And I'm really into words and authors. But Peggy kind of, it was a good, it kept me out of trouble.
Well, spinning off that a little, where you're talking about your attraction to words, this being your third book now, how has that experience been for you? Do you feel like it's a different set of creative muscles that you're working when you've been working on these books?
Yes and no. Writing you can do by yourself. You don't have to depend on you know, crazy musicians. It's not as fun as playing in a band, certainly. But it's funny, I wrote Riders on the Storm, and it became a New York Times bestseller, and I still felt insecure about saying I was a writer. Weird. I knew I was a musician. And then I kept writing for a year or two, articles, and then I got a little piece in the Nation magazine about, you know, selling songs for commercials, and it went viral, and I thought, I'm a writer. I've got another avenue of creativity. I found a voice here. And so I keep doing this. And I'll say one more thing you might find interesting. The length of a sentence, I would say, is, for me, a musical question. If it's short, it's percussive. If it's long, it's melodic. Or maybe it's too long and you need to edit, you know. But I kind of try to hear my paragraphs that I write.
Yeah, there are definitely some books, some writers where you feel like they're very musically attuned, where somebody, you know, has some riffs or they have some hooks that they come back to as they're writing. In fact, we were just discussing that your book was published the same day as the new book from President Obama. And I wanted to bounce this off you because there was a bit that he wrote that I thought was really interesting. He was talking about giving a speech at the Democratic Convention in 2004, which kind of was the thing that made him a star. And he talked about finding his cadence while he was giving that speech. He said, there's a physical feeling, a current of emotion that passes back and forth between you and the crowd. You've tapped into some collective spirit, a thing we all know and wish for, a sense of connection that overrides our differences and replaces them with a giant swell of possibility. And I thought, here's a politician talking. What does that sound like?
Oh man, that is it's so true. It's just wow that he gets that. I have this rap, I'll do it right now, that you could be a duet or a 40-piece orchestra, and that's one person. And the audience is 12,000 at Madison Square Garden or 12 in a little club. That's the other person. And in live performance that night, the two of you are going to dance. And that's the mystery of what's going to happen live in the moment. And you don't know if it's going to be metaphorically a salsa or a waltz or a foxtrot or whatever. And that's what he's talking about, that you can kind of feel the audience, and it's either pinned up time or they're yelling, and you're together. You're on the same page. There's a shared humanity.
And the sense of community that comes out of that we're missing so much right now. How are you doing in the COVID age? I mean, you've got your writing that you're doing. Is there a music outlet for you?
I'm kind of used to this cave life like existence, but I do miss the live thing, you know. I miss connecting with people. I mean, you know, I have my bubble, my family, and that's it. So we're okay. It's disconcerting, but I knew there was going to be a surge, and we will get through this. There's a light. It may be because the greenhouse gases have gone down. There's a lesson there to learn from all this tragedy. When we come out, we can learn some things from it. And
well, let me go to, since you were talking about the thing that happens at shows. Brian from Glen Allen, Virginia asked, what was the most memorable Doors show? And I would just add on to that. What was the reason? Was it because of the audience? Was it because of just a great venue, or because of just the chemistry with the band?
Well, unfortunately, my mind goes to Miami. Damn it.
Well, most memorable. They didn't ask for.
Well, before I go into that, let me say the most memorable, exciting shows were not the giant concerts, which is great, mass adulation, but the moment from clubs to small concert halls, which kind of, oh my God, we're gonna make a living at this. Okay, oh God, that was a real high. Miami was a mess. Jim was frustrated with, you know, the bright spotlight on the lead singer is dangerous. You know, I was just on the edge, so I just got singed a little. It's too much attention, you know, and he was sort of fed up and taking it out on the audience, you know, and he grew a beard to be anonymous. And he also was influenced by the Living Theater, who did very confrontational performances, and then he did it that night. He did not expose himself, okay? And it wasn't good musically, but he vented a lot of political stuff about people being manipulated. And so there you go.
Well, on a related note, Andrew from here in Los Angeles, California asked, what is your favorite song to jam to?
Wow. Well, Light My Fire is, you know, there are these long solos in the middle. They're like jazz. Actually, the two chords we use on the solos in Light My Fire are similar to a couple chords that were in the corny Broadway song My Favorite Things, which John Coltrane made a gorgeous jazz masterpiece. And so we're like, oh, let's just take those two chords. It's in 4/4. That was in 3/4. And Oh, you know, everybody just danced when we played that song, and it was really heaven. And then for our encore, we'd play the end, and then everyone would walk out silently bludgeoned and take the music home rather than dissipate it in applause.
Yeah, yeah, amazing time. Well, I'll just add, nice to hear you cite Light My Fire. John was incredibly generous and sat in with my bar band, the Rounders, year or two back when live shows were still happening. He came down to this dive bar in South Orange County and joined us, and we played Roadhouse Blues, which was a great jam. I mean, I enjoyed doing that with you, and Love Me Two Times, and having the opportunity to play with you and just feel that rhythm and what you bring to the table and connect with you in that way was a real highlight for me. So just publicly thank you for that, John.
And it was fun. You know, it was like it's a little club, people drinking beer, but you know, community, what we're missing with the pandemic. And so we'll see you with the Rounders in about a year.
I sure hope so. Dr. Frank from Lich Hessen asked, which rock musician impressed you the most and why?
Which rock musician? Well, I said Bob Dylan. He's not a rock Jimi Hendrix. Oh my God. You know, he was famous in England and not famous here. And he came here and played the whiskey. I was there. Oh, it's like three guys from Mars. You know, I mean, at the time, African-American music was kind of, people had afros and funk was popular. And Jimmy's playing this, I don't know, psychedelic amalgamation of the Byrds and the blues, and he's playing left-handed. I was astounded and knew he's going to be giant. And well, Jimmy's passing was really sad because he made a mistake. I think he mixed up drugs or something. Whereas Janis and Jim Morrison, you know, were alcoholics and heroin addicts and had diseases. And Jimmy was going to do an album with Miles Davis and darn. Anyway, yeah, there's a giant.
Yeah, that's great. Well, interestingly, you know, Hendrix, when he first started getting introduced to American audiences, he went out opening for the Monkees, as I'm sure you know.
I forgot about that,
but when you guys were coming up, when the Doors were coming up, you opened for a lot of bands when you were playing at the Whiskey. Were there shows where like just nobody got what you were doing, where you felt like you wanted to be any place other than where you were at that moment because of the mismatch?
The opposite, Randy. We were the house band, and we sort of built a following. Elmer Valentine, the owner, got rid of the go-go cages. He knew there's a new hippie movement coming, and there was a lot of free-form dancers. And so we were home. And every group that came in, let's see, them, Captain Beefheart, the Byrds, Frank Zappa, all of them, we were like, okay, let's blow them off the stage. I mean, we loved them, of course, but we were something to be reckoned with, and it was a great time.
Yeah, you do. There's a great story, which I loved in there where you talk about playing with them. And, you know, the big hit was Gloria, which the Doors also latched onto, and you did it together.
Gloria was in our set. You know, when you're the house band, you have to play several sets, and the first one's at 9 p.m. when nobody's there. And so we do some covers, and we did Gloria. We were pretty good at it. And then them came to town, and we thought, well, okay, we're going to cut Gloria out of our set. Are you kidding? Out of respect. But then by the end of the week, being friends with Van and everybody in the band, we played it together. 2 drummers, 2 Morrisons, them and the Doors. Ah, that's sweet.
I love the way you put that you said, yeah, we had 2 of everything, including 2 Morrisons.
Yep. And actually, I saw Van, I don't know, a few months after that, driving by in a car on Santa Monica Boulevard, and he pulled over and honked at me because I was walking, and he said, "Hey, how you doing? How's Jim?" So he was, the Morrisons cared about each other.
That's great. Well, they both have, very sort of poetic souls, I would say.
Ancient Irish vocal cords.
You have a quote from Quincy Jones in your book, which I think is very illuminating, that says, Brahms, Beethoven, Basie, Bo Diddley, and Bird all had to deal with the same 12 notes. And I'll leave the expletive to your book.
Well, the same fucking 12 notes, which is pretty brilliant because you just think about all those, Mozart and Charlie Parker, same deal, same 12 notes. So you got to figure out what to do. So it's so interesting, music being this direct, you see a painting, but music you hear in the air and it goes right into your heart. You get goosebumps from, scary music, or you laugh and dance to other kinds of music. It's powerful stuff.
It really is. There's a great video on YouTube that you can probably find if you do it, where somebody has taken a scene from Mary Poppins movie and put horror film music to it. And it just shows you the power that music has to change the whole tone.
No kidding. I've got to look
of
that
what you're
up.
seeing. It's fantastic.
Okay.
This is William from New Jersey said, hello, John. I'm curious what bands you enjoy listening to from the past and today, and who is your favorite drummer? You've talked about Elvin Jones. I don't know if there's anybody else you want to cite.
Ringo's a wonderful drummer, I think I quote Ringo. He says that there's you gotta, if you feel like you need to leave a hole somewhere, do it. It's important, that space, and that's it. Melodic drumming. Wait a minute, I forgot the first part of the question.
Just who do you enjoy listening to from the past, and who from today, if there's stuff you're listening to today?
Like this book, Meetings with Remarkable Musicians, my taste is very eclectic. So I will listen to reggae, I'll listen to classical, hip hop, got some interesting stuff, the whole gamut, nothing specific. Jazz, of course, it all feeds me.
Yeah, and there's a spot where you reference, you name check Jay-Z and Eminem and Snoop Dogg, and it's nice to hear that you're plugged into that part of the music world too, because that is so much, rap is so much, just so rooted fundamentally in rhythm. And
well, yeah, they got drum machines.
but just the rappers themselves, vocally, they are almost percussionists.
Yeah, I think I quote Jay-Z as saying that, Snoop Dogg has a certain laid back rhythm, and Eminem had, it's all rhythm, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. This is Christopher from Brooklyn said, what types of music would the Doors have recorded had Jim lived?
Whoa.
Is that something you can extrapolate on?
Let me get my crystal ball. I'm always asked, if Jim was alive today, would he be clean and sober? And I always used to say, no, he was a kamikaze drunk. And the last few years, I've changed that answer. Eminem, Clapton, clean and sober is cool. And why not? I think what we would be doing, Ray and Jim went to film school. We love movies, and we would be doing music for movies, hopefully making the movies, Ray directing and Jim acting and doing music for it all. So that would have been fun. Not in the cards.
There were a couple of questions related to the Doors film. One being, how accurate do you think it was? And this one here from Daniel in Los Angeles said, where was your cameo scene in the Doors movie filmed? And was it a set or actual studio in LA?
Yeah, my cameo was, a studio in LA, and it was at the beginning of the film and the end. Oliver Stone made a movie about the struggle of an artist, like, self-destruction and creativity. Interesting story. There was another film, a documentary called When You're Strange, that Johnny Depp narrated. That had a little more of the 60s in it, a little more of the period, the feeling politically. I think the two of them represent the whole thing, not one or the other. Val Kilmer was really amazing as Jim, that's for sure. But I like that there's a little more of the undeclared undercurrent of the Vietnam War in When You're Strange, because that affected us and it affected change. And I'm going to get a little political here. I mean, we are polarized like crazy, red and blue states, and kind of like the Vietnam War, we were so polarized. There's a little red speckle in the blue states, some folks who voted for Trump. There's a little blue speckle in the red states, those who voted for Biden. We're not that polarized. We gotta, hopefully this mess we're in, we will reach across the aisle as humans and all figure stuff out together. It's a prayer.
Yeah. Well, and there, I'll throw this in. Is there a role for the artists here? I mean, when we look at the civil rights struggle and how much Black musicians made a difference, and how important the music was, but also seeing these people are making music that we love. So, let's understand this.
We've been talking about the power of music as medicine for the soul. It's really deep stuff that affects all across humanity. And, I think I write in this book somewhere that governments are willing to kill musicians or get them out of their country if they are affecting the politics the wrong way. So that's how strong music is, It's a force. It's a deep subliminal force.
Well, you outline that beautifully in this book, and it's a real pleasure to read. The power of music to overcome physical difficulties is impressive. You've got a quote in here talking to Ravi Shankar, because playing the sitar is physically incredibly demanding, and he says, when spirit comes in, ecstasy overshadows everything. I remember having a conversation. One of my favorite musicians was South African musician Johnny Clegg, and he went on a tour while he was undergoing cancer treatment, and it was called his final tour. He said, I don't know, where this is going to end. And he died a year or so after that tour. But I talked to him about it, and he said, while he's on stage, something happens that all that goes away. And when he's making music, there's something, again, magical that can happen. And you hear stories like that. What's your experience with that been, and where has music sort of lifted you through or healed you in some way?
Yeah, well, my being a drummer, it's problematic. But then again, when I am actually playing, it doesn't bother me at all. And so there it is. Yeah, I saw Johnny Clegg a few times, loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, terrific stuff. In fact, there's a question that I had seen. I'm going to see if I can pull it up here, where the fan was asking just that drumming. Yeah, it says David from Abbott in British Columbia says you talk in your book about the physical collateral damage of every occupation and specifically drumming. What advice would you have to a young drummer to minimize the physical wear and tear of drumming?
Well, after our era, I think Mick Fleetwood had a masseuse on the road with him. Boy, that was smart. So, chiropractors, massage, keeping you loose. That would certainly help. And also, though, I say that if you're doing something you love, everything has an occupational hazard. If you're a ditch digger or a drummer or writing on a computer, and if you really, like what you're doing, it's worth the payment. That's why I say it'd be nice if these high-rise buildings had a plaque at the bottom with all the guys who constructed the building rather than just the logo of the corporation at the top. And then they could say to their kid, look at that. I did that. So.
Yeah, I love that part in the book. Daniel from New Jersey asked, John, what do you wish you knew about the recording process that you know now?
Wow. Well, at first, I didn't understand that it would. You want to, at least drumming, you want to dampen the sound a bit for a record. Live, it's too echoey. The main thing I would say was, it comes with experience, is to be relaxed, because all the great takes come from relaxation. When you're tense, it gets on the disc, so, and you can overdo it. Like we did too many takes on the third album, but perfectionism got crazy, and that's why when we got back to Morrison Hotel and LA Woman, we did in our garage on 8-track equipment. 16 had already been invented, but we wanted to be comfortable, and we just did a few takes. And we said, fuck the mistakes. We want the passion. Miles was asked about the beginning of Live at Carnegie Hall. There's a big trumpet splat. And he says, I don't care. Don't cut it out. The feeling is good.
I love that. Well, let me ask you, when you're talking about that, the perfectionism, especially as it comes into the recording studio, area, that you didn't talk a lot about that in the book, but did some of the great studio drummers like Earl Palmer, when he moved out here from New Orleans and was the guy to go to in LA studios for so long, and then Hal Blaine, Jim Keltner, people like that. Did you cross paths with those guys much and just talk about how they do what they do, which is, you're going in, you're sight reading, you might be playing a commercial, an advertisement 1 minute, might be playing a bit for a movie or a TV show, and then you're playing on a Brian Wilson record.
Yeah, I know Jim Keltner very well, and we talk off and on, and mutual respect. We've talked about Ringo and his great feel, and I'm jealous of Jim being the drummer for the Traveling Wilburys. And, actually I played with the LA Philharmonic with Gustavo Dudamel at the gala year. We played L.A. Woman at the anniversary, and for the encore we played Good Vibrations, and it was thrilling for me. Behind me was the 150 L.A. Master Chorale singing ooh bop bop, and in front of me was the L.A. Phil, and I'm playing Hal Blaine licks because he was the drummer on Good Vibrations. Tip of the hat to Hal.
Yeah, that's great. I love the stories that you have in there of working with Dudamel, and although you guys theoretically come from very different musical worlds, you have so much in common, and obviously got together and connected very, very powerfully.
Yeah, that's his gift, that he is open to salsa, jazz, Led Zeppelin. He said to me backstage, Juan, Mahler is heavy metal. What? And then I sort of thought, oh, he sang the melody of the symphony he just conducted, and it kind of sounded like a bass line from some metal group. So, it's all connected.
That's great. Well, I found it interesting that in all the different people and the different thinkers, artists that you have in this book, you save for the end Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
He's the last story you tell. Tell us a little bit about that. And
the redheaded stranger, I'm 76 in a week. Willie's 87 or something, give or take. And he's there. I mean, yeah, he smokes a lot of herb, but he's got these calm eyes that look right through you. He's smart. He's vibrant. I'm sure he's dying to get on the road again, which will happen down the road. And so he's a mentor for me that way. And I said, hey, Willie, how many times have you played on the road again? And he said, 6,000. I went, oh, like Light My Fire.
Right.
Good songs.
Good. Well, I loved what you said about those calm eyes and how they look right through you. I mean, I've had the pleasure of interviewing him a number of times, and that's so on the mark. I mean, he just fixes that gaze on you, and you feel like he's like, looking right into your heart and soul.
Yeah.
And with such kindness and love. Yeah.
Exactly. A love vibe there that we all could use.
Yeah. Well, again, we'll point out that you can get a signed copy. John's signing as we've been talking here. A copy of his new book, which is The Seekers: Meetings with Remarkable Musicians and Other Artists. And it's a treat. I urge you to check it out and find all these stories, because I think, another thing that touches me about the book is that, it's not all, sunshine and rainbows in the stories you tell, but you kind of bring it back to a place of respect and love for the people that you've engaged with or learned from or shared a stage with over time. And there are a lot of them. And it's really impressive. And that's one of the reasons I've enjoyed, getting to know you and whatever chances we've had to converse.
Well, thank you so much, Randy. These are plaques I'm signing that get stuck on the books. And to everybody out there who's listening, besides these famous people in this book, you guys can find a little time every day, whatever it is, conscious walk in the woods or on the cement or painting or music or whatever, and get in that zone of healing and sonic vibrations. And I think it'll help all of us have a better world.
Well, we can't ask for anything better than that. And the world we're in has benefited so much from your music and those of the folks you talk about in this book. I have the copy here. Great cover, by the way, too. I mean, I love this cover on your book. So congratulations on that as well.
Thank you, Randy.
All right. Well, hope to be seeing you again soon one of these days, and even more important, hearing you behind the drums.
Thank you. Keep doing your thing.
I'll keep at it. In these COVID times, there's lots of time to practice, which is, one of the silver linings.
Bye, everybody out there.
Okay, bye. Thanks a lot. Pleasure being here.
Hi.
I am sitting here with the one and only Jackie Chan, global superstar, and he is signing all of these books. Are your hands tired?
No, tired, but I'm happy.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm
really,
so
really
happy to hear that.
How do you feel? Good. I'm excited. This is the first time I've done something like this before, a live signing.
Where do I want to go that I've never been? Oh, we're thinking about, not thinking, we're putting it in motion. I'm going to go to Indonesia on my Irresponsible tour this year. I'm excited about that. I've never been. And there's been a heavy demand for me there. So we're going to go. We're going to go to Indonesia and I'm going to make people laugh in Indonesia. That's how I roll. How do you roll? I can't make this up. Wayne, you got your Indonesia pants? I decided it about a good 3 weeks ago. You'll see it on the schedule soon, so I suggest you go get your pants for Indonesia, because you're not going to wear them stupid pants. Where do you think Indonesia is? India. Yes, we out.
You can see that I'm signing it. This is not some machine scribbling my name. This is my actual human body scribbling my name. So, all right, there we go. First book, signed.
Biggest pet peeve? Men that talk to me with spinach in their teeth.
What can I do while at work to help lower my stress and improve my health?
One musician do you most admire?
I love you all, and we'll talk again soon. Take care.
Bye.
Much love. See ya.
See you soon, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
We'll see you around the world. Woo!
Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone here.
Bye, guys.
Say goodbye, Mary.
See you in the morning.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'm gonna go get drunk.